Well, good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Filmmakers Forum of the Nollywood Studies Center. For those who are joining us for the first time, the Filmmakers Forum is an activity of the Nollywood Studies Center. The Nollywood Studies Center is a unit of the School of Media and Communication of the Pan-Atlantic University. And this is a platform that is used to facilitate engagement between the members of the film industry, the practitioners, as well as persons of the audience. Thank you all very much for being with us today. We are highly honored to have as a guest on today's Filmmakers Forum, Joke Silva, who is so well known. I must tell you that the number of persons who registered for this program has never been as many as we've had once people saw your name. So, that goes to show you how esteemed you are in the industry. I think we are especially gratified to be doing this because I think this is one of the first activities to mark the 60th birthday of Joke Silva. So thank you very much for giving us this time. And I would say that we are rather proud because Joke Silva is a friend of the center. This is actually the third time that she's honoring us with her presence on this platform. So thank you so very much. And once again, thank you all for being with us. Thank you for being punctual. And let's get going. Now, if as we go along, you have questions, please feel free to drop them in the chat box and we'll take them from there. Well, just to get going, well, Joke Silva, as we know, is an award-winning actress, a producer, director, and acting coach who has featured in numerous films. Her acting career kicked off in 1981, and she's known to bring professionalism and passion to her acting. She trained at the Weber Douglas Academy of Dramatic Arts. She also has a degree in English from the University of Lagos. She has exercised her craft on various platforms: theater, film, television, radio, and the new media. Some of the films in which she has acted are Owuro Lojo, pardon me if I have murdered that name, Violated, the British-Canadian film, The Secret Laughter of Women, Twins of the Rainforest, Keeping Faith, White Waters, Tango With Me, Phone Swap, Royal Hibiscus Hotel, Cheap Daddy, and Citation. These are just a few of the so many films. Joke Silva has received several awards in recognition of her work. For her role in Women's Court, she received the award for Best Actress in a Leading Role at the Second Africa Movie Academy Awards in 2006. Her performance in White Waters won her the award for Best Actress in a Supporting Role at the Fourth Africa Movie Academy Awards in 2008. She has also received the Emerton Award from African Independent Television, AIT, and the Solitra Award for Visual Arts. She is also the pioneer managing director of Malete Film Village in association with Kwara State University. Along with her husband, Olu Jacobs, she co-founded Lufolo Group, an academy of performing arts that specializes in production of drama. The production arm of the group curated Nigeria's artistic expression at the 2012 Olympics in London with 3 plays and has over the years presented various plays at the National Theatre, the Glover Memorial Hall, and the Musun Center. Joke Silva is a known supporter of women empowerment and human rights and was a faculty member of the MTN Project Film. She's also the chairman board of trustees of the Center of Contemporary Arts, the board member, Lagos State Theatre Festival, chairman, Lagos State Post-COVID-19 Pandemic Review Committee, United Nations Goodwill Ambassador Against Trafficking in Persons, ambassador for Nigerian Women Trust Fund, board member of Savannah Center for Democracy, Diplomacy, and Development. Now, all of that is quite a mouthful, but it's only a little. We haven't covered everything, as I'm sure those who know Joke Silva will tell that we have only touched on some things. So once again, welcome. Thank you so very much for being with us this morning. Well, let's get the ball. Thank you. Let's get the ball rolling. Now, your father was a lawyer and your mother a medical doctor. And you went into acting at a time when the perception of actors and their lifestyle in Nigeria was largely negative. The prevalent view then it has changed quite a bit today, but we still have some pockets of that, was that actors were, to put it mildly, unserious people and wastrels. Now, what has been your experience in this regard? Because you're one of those who has, as it were, changed that picture so that these days, when a child tells a parent, I want to go into acting, well, they don't throw a fit, at least not everybody these days. So what has been your experience in trying to deal with this perception over the years, and how did you convince your parents on this point?
Thank you. I think it's such an incredible compliment to be told that one has been part of changing that perception, because that perception was very real at the time. Not only were we thought of as unserious, we were actually thought of as pretty loose, you know, morally deviant. And well, I guess part of changing that narrative had to do with one's upbringing. You know, my parents wanted me, encouraged my artistic bent, my performing bent. They encouraged it. They made sure I went to schools that had those what you would call drama, elocution, and you know, they made sure that those were the kinds of schools that I attended. All right, but I think for them, they encouraged me they wanted me to have it as a hobby, not so much as a profession, because they knew that the profession was pretty hard. It was a pretty hard life. But that notwithstanding, they once they knew that this was where my passion was, this was where my passion lay, and this was all I wanted to do. They gave me 120% support. When I say one's upbringing, I don't know. I mean, it wasn't that one set out to change the perception. Do you understand? I dressed the way I enjoyed dressing. I didn't go out to do that. It was just being oneself and not forgetting the kind of parents that I had, and knowing that there were some things that I just dared not do because you didn't want to hurt them. You didn't want to hurt them, and you didn't want them to get the backlash of, after all, she's an actress, that kind of, yes. You didn't want them to get that. Yes.
Okay, fantastic. Now, earlier in your career, you starred in the British film, The Secret Laughter of Women. How did this come about? What opportunities did it offer to you to create an international profile? And could you have taken up more roles in international films?
The Secret Laughter of Women for me was it was almost like a silent applause for one's values, for one's belief. I trained in England, but looking at the landscape in England at that time, I realized that there were very few opportunities for Black performers, male or female. My husband was one of the very few that broke through at that time. Other people it was a huge struggle. And I think what also informed it for me was the fact that before I left to train in England, I was working 24/7. I had so much work. I was turning down work. So why should I stay in a place where, you weren't really sure where the next job was going to come from? So I decided to come back home. And when the production of Secret Laughter of Women, I was now being sought out of, I mean, there were auditions. They were looking for a Nigerian actress to play a particular role in the Secret Laughter of Women. I auditioned, and I was picked for it. I really felt good. I felt good because they came to Nigeria to pick me. It wasn't that I was in England. Do you get? And for me, it's really important. Very recently, I've just done a film in Greece on, a Walt Disney film, also picked from Nigeria. Do you understand? So, you know, for me, it's like a pat on the back that what you decided to do, your return home was right. You made the right decision. Do you get? Yes.
Yes. Now, on the back of that, you are quoted as having said in other interviews, excellence is a way of life. It can only be achieved when it is pursued every day, regardless of your vocation or profession. Always strive to be better today than you were yesterday. Yeah, very, very uplifting words. And then something else, work hard at what you want because it may not come to you without some determination and persistence. So from previous interviews, it is clear that you have merely expressed what you yourself have lived through. And you just said a moment ago that you had a lot of work here. And from previous interviews, it's clear that you lived through an intense period in those early days. You're quoted as having said, well, in the same 24-hour period, you would run from recording a television play to go with the NTA. We'll go and do a radio play, and then you will then rush down to the National Theatre to do something else. Now, all of this is a lot of work. Can you tell us something about those early days? How did you cope? How did you prepare yourself? What was the scenario like?
Those early days actually came about because when I came back from my A-levels in England, I tried to get into the University of Ibadan and to get into the University of Ife, but I had come late, so I missed the timing. And my parents, so as not to, they just felt that I shouldn't sit at home, and they also hoped that if I tried to work, maybe if things were a bit more difficult, I'll go and study something else, that would give me a stronger base whilst I pursued acting. Do you understand? So an uncle of mine, late Canon Yinka Olumide, who was working at the University of Lagos, then introduced me to the University of Lagos Cultural Center. And that's how I met Uncle Joe. I was working with Professor Dr. Bodio Soin, who's late now. And we had people like myself and Stella Monye and quite a few others. Jegwon Jewini was part of the group, and I hadn't gone to study drama in Ibadan at the time. And that's how this gentleman came from the University of from NT, heard about me that they had this new Oyibo speaking actress at the cultural center. And so he said, come and join the drama department, come and join the drama group at the NTA that he was in charge of. I went, met Kole Bantefa, met Didi Ogunbade, all the big guns of the time, Tony Said, all of them. And then Didi Ogunbade says, I am working in radio, please come and join me in radio, for drama. So I end up in radio. And then National Theatre, they're doing a play, come and work at the National Theatre. So it was constant. I was working and I was having a whale of a time. And so my parents wish that I'll probably say, oh, this life is too hard. Let me do something else as a backup. It didn't materialize. So those early days, there was so much work. There was so much work, yeah.
Okay, now I would just say that there are so many messages popping up in the chat, wishing you birthday greetings. We will copy them all out and send to you later so that you have a chance to see all of them.
Thank you.
Now, into this world, there is a greater impact. Now, you have said that you have dedicated so much time to working, you could say, honing your craft. What kind of advice would you give to young people today who want to go into this world of acting?
Honestly, I will say that part of what has been responsible for my staying power in the industry has got to be my dream. Anybody who wants to come into acting now, where there are so many opportunities and so many platforms to work, it's better you train and train properly. The band-aid kind of training, the time of the band-aid kind of training is over. The competition is stiff. I was very lucky to have the opportunity to train in a country where the competition has always been stiff anyway. You know, so people work really hard, even to go for auditions. You train to go for auditions to get into the schools. That's how competitive it is. And that's how competitive it has become in Nigeria. So I would say find a good school and train. You can come to the Lufudo Academy and let me let me plug in our school. I mean, we should be up and running in the early months of next year. Yes, and we run a 2-year training program for actors. We run short courses for directors to train, directors directing actors, not the full gamut of directing, but directors directing actors for the various platforms, and also writing, where we focus on the above the line in film production, in theater. Yes.
Now, that's an important point you have made, that people have to avoid the quick fix in terms of acting. But how do you deal with the aspect of determining that someone really has what it takes to be an actor? Some people think they have it, but they don't. And I'm sorry to say, many times, we are not so quick to accept criticism in terms of this is what you should do and so on. So how do you, when you have students coming to you, for instance, do you tell a fellow it's best you look for some other profession?
Usually, first of all, before you come into the school, there's an audition process anyway that lets us know that your talent is geared towards this area. But if along the line you then discover that you are stronger in some elements, then we will advise that why don't you explore this more. Now, whilst you're training as an actor, because the training of the proper training of an actor is pretty rounded, in the sense that you do quite a lot of voice, you do quite a lot of movement, you do, you're part of the process of bringing a play to life. Then you will watch you'll watch the producer putting the play together, you'll watch the director working on the play, and you may find that it seems that I'm more interested in actually bringing the project manager, which is the producer, bringing the play to life, than being the person in front of, on stage or in front of the camera. You will also find that, wow, I enjoy how this person is directing. I like what they're doing, and you may then focus more on in that area, but when you're the creative person, a lot of times has various ways of expressing their creativity. And so if you find that acting isn't giving you the kind of satisfaction that you were hoping to get, you should be able to express yourself in other ways. Yes.
Now, given your status today, you are in a better position to pick what roles you will accept or reject the ones you don't want to do. But what determines your decision to accept or reject a role?
A lot of the times it depends on what impact does that character have in the play. Is that character important? in the life of that play, in the trajectory of that play. So it's not necessarily whether the part is a major part or is a major, minor, or cameo. Is how important is the part in the life of the play. I just did a play recently, a film recently called The Wait, produced by Yewande Zakios. And, you know, worked with some amazing talents in Idima. Now, I don't want to go into the area of Bisani because she corrected me recently, so I'll just say Idima. And, you know, and I played her mother-in-law. And it was a cameo. I think my screen time was probably about, let's say, at the most 5 minutes of screen time. But this woman, the way she was written and the way she was filmed was so powerful, that when people watched it, they couldn't stop talking about the woman. She was wicked. She was deliciously wicked, you know, and I loved playing her. So it's really not how big the part is, but it's how important the part is to the play. I know that sometimes in Nigeria, one of the problems is that they kind of typecast you. And recently someone was like, okay, I said I was going on location and they said, okay, whose mother are you playing? You know, you seem to be permanently playing a mother role. Or, you know, but yes, that's it. It's the impact that the character has in the life of the play. Yes.
Now, this point you have just raised takes me back to a point you made in another interview that I saw, in which you, as it were, pointed to, well, if I may use the word, unfairness in the way actors and actresses are treated, in the sense of when a male actor begins to get older, well, of course, it's not as if the parts dry up. It doesn't become stereotyped, but it's a bit different when a female actor begins to get older. And of course, well, things change.
Yes.
like you say, there's a greater. Now, what do you see? Do you see a way out of it? How are you yourself dealing with this?
I honestly think it has to do with writing and writers writing from their experience of life. There are writers who started around the time that I started work. So they're around my age now. They shouldn't be writing, I don't think, for younger audiences when their experience of life hasn't been that. Do you understand? I don't know how to explain it. You know, instead of sticking to the same, yes, you know, that life has, you experience people who are older and all. So let's explore those lives. And that is why there's something that I said about Shola Shoboale in King of Boys written by Kemi Adetiba. One of the things I always say to that group, the Kemi Adetiba and Shola Shoboale, is that for the first time, you have an older woman carrying a film and carrying it successfully and letting people know that an older woman can carry a film. Do you understand? Because sometimes it is for the audience to know that it is possible. When you have a Helen Mirren playing Elizabeth I, you have a Judi Dench. How many times at over 60, at over 70, these women have carried films. You know, they have been the lead characters in films, and we need to explore our own stories as well, like that. And so I say kudos to Kemi Adetiba and Shola Shubwale for breaking that, that perception that the older woman cannot carry a film or cannot carry. And we find more older women in theater. So I thank God for that. I've been able to do quite a lot of theatrical work as an older woman, where I do carry, I do carry the play. Yes.
Now, don't you think perhaps that there are two aspects also from which this could be approached, or two areas that need to be focused on here? One is the, well, if I may use the word, the training of the script writer on the one hand, and then on the other hand, a better awareness of the audience. Because many times perhaps we are not carrying out the due audience analysis. So we have some more or less fixed ideas of what we should be giving the audience, because I know that this complaint has featured generally, not just here in Nigeria, that the family audience tends to be neglected. We're not producing enough films that you say, yes, I can sit down and watch with all the children and the rest of the family. And then also the group of the older people who want to watch films that they can identify with the characters. So those two areas, perhaps, are they not areas that we shouldn't necessarily be focusing on here, the aspect of the script writers and also audience analysis?
I totally agree with you, because a lot of times we, when we work on a project and that project works, everybody rushes into that area. If you remember, in the early years of our, it wasn't, we really did do a lot, especially on television. We did a lot of work that was family oriented,
Yes. Yes.
And then all of a sudden somebody does something that is very thriller in the sense of the juju, the that kind of spiritual, otherworldly, and it was a hit. Everybody starts making that kind of film. Then it was the comedy, that people loved, but without taking into what you rightly said, actually carrying out a proper audience analysis and realizing that there is room for every kind of genre of work, because again, I'll go to King of Boys. King of Boys came out at a time when all the cinemas, or I would say the gatekeepers of the cinemas, if it wasn't comedy, they were not going to push it. And then comes King of Boys, that looks at the underbelly of society and what goes on, the political thriller, and it's a hit. Now, I won't be surprised if we're now going to get so many, but there is, we really need to find out. And then and writers shouldn't be scared to write what they want to write. Write what you want to write and then market it to your audience. There is an audience for whatever it is that you have written. Same with producers. If you love a piece of work, go for it and market it to that audience. You will find the right way to market it to your target audience, because there is always an audience for it, especially with 200 and how many million people that we are.
Exactly. Exactly. Okay. Now, Tony here has a question in which he says...
Sorry, before that question,
yes.
And I think that this is where Nollywood studies can also help. Do you understand? That research, that, supporting people with the research technicalities, technical backup, yes, to be able to do that and do it successfully.
Yes, I fully agree with you. It's one of the areas that we are concerned about, and we're trying to see what we can do in this regard. Certainly, I fully
Yes.
agree with you.
Yeah. So,
Okay. All right. Tony says, you have a screenplay and rolling it. How do you prepare? What are the steps? Let me just add to that because I had a question along those lines, because I remember a previous visit to our university that you made, and you turned up looking very elegant, I must say, but in a huge afro. Okay, it was a huge afro. I remember that. I still have the pictures. And then you
yeah.
said that you had just finished shooting a film and you were trying to distance yourself from the character in that film. That was your way of breaking free, so to speak. Those are my words. Now, this emphasizes this reality of getting into a part. So, like I said, this is echoing the question of Tony. How do you get into your part of a character? What is your acting technique?
Okay. Well, a lot of the times it depends on the character. There are some characters that you just instinctively have an idea of who they are. And, of course, it starts with reading the script. You've read the script, you've read it several times, you've looked at what people are saying about your character, you're looking at the world of the play, where it's set, that all goes into your research of the character. But some characters you instinctively understand where they're coming from, who they are. But some characters require a bit more work. For instance, I'll go back many years, and I don't have to go back too far. The woman in Hear Word, the Yoloja of Hear Word. Now, Yoloja of Hear Word is this incredibly bubbly woman. She's bubbly, but she's also she's someone who is of incredible native intelligence, and she's a businesswoman. She has a sense of community. Now, getting this woman who, for as actors, we can be very lazy and we have a comfort zone. My comfort zone is speaking English, and speaking English very well. I just enter the character and start speaking my Igbo. But this woman doesn't speak English. She doesn't speak good English. She communicates in an English that you can understand, but it is not straight English, neither is it pidgin English. It is a transliteration of the way she speaks Yoruba,
Yes.
And so one had to get into that mindset. And thank God for the kind of director that Ifeoma Pakowa is, who is very, Ifeoma is one of these directors who is very good with working with actors and drawing out the performance. She knows you can do it, but she knows she has to pull it out. And she works at pulling out the character in such a way that you become the character. So in other words, what I'm saying is that, yes, there's a lot of work that I do. And the work that I do a lot of work at home, reading the script, mulling over it, watching people watching people and kind of being very conscious at that time, so that when I see something that somebody does, I say, that's very similar to this woman. I'm going to steal that, and you're doing those things. However, no matter how much you prepare, if your director, it's, theater, performance, whether it's a film, whether it's a stage play, it's very collaborative. And so the help of an outside eye is so important. And, that's why I mentioned Ifeoma. She's brilliant at it. The other person who was late, Amaka Igwe and Lola Fanika, who's in England now. They were exceptional. Exceptional pullers of performances. Sheke Shomolu is another very good one as well. But a lot of directors here, tend to leave you to find your way. And the older you get and the bigger your profile, sometimes the less they want to really work with you to bring out the character. And so it can be that the fame that you need to propel your career forward can also has its downside. Yes.
Sure,
Yes.
sure. Well, just to back you up on that,
Yes.
I know I have heard the complaint in the past of actors who go to a set and they don't want to listen, so that the actor is the same in every film, regardless of the character, because the actor has his or her own way of doing things and doesn't listen to anybody else. So I just to support what you said, that it's a collaborative thing. But then the thing is, in other words, what you say is that you build the character yourself. A lot of it,
Yes.
because you see a trait here that you think this character should have. You see something else there. This is the way this character should be. So in other words, it means that you end up living life of that character. So that's how you're getting to it. Now, how do you get out of it? Because I remember speaking to somebody else who said that, well, the character tends to possess her, and sometimes she really has to struggle to get out of it. How do you deal with that?
It was something that I learned from working on the character Mama Tega in Violated, which I did with Amaka Igwe, Egoboyo, and Richard Mufedamijo. Now, Richard is a couple of months older than me, and at that time I played his mother. And Richard and myself have had a very amazing professional relationship. He's played my father, he's played my lover, he's played my husband, he's played my son. We've had a really wonderful working relationship. Now, this time I'm playing his mother, and I played that role at around, I was about 30-something. And so I needed to, and I was a bit much slimmer at the time. So I needed to change my body type. I needed to change my, make myself a bit more, have a bit more gravitas for the kind of woman that she was. She was the matriarch of the family in her 60s, the age I am now. And I did my own makeup, and I had to start my makeup very early because I had to brush the gray into my hair, almost strand by strand. I didn't want it, because the camera can pick up that the falsity in it. So I had to do it very carefully. And then also my speech pattern, how to get the speech pattern in such a way that carried her authority, but didn't lose the conversationality in her tone. By the time we finished, I found myself dressing 60, walking 60, and trying to get out of that, And so one of the things, even the way I was talking, everything so much, that's where I learned that as soon as I finished a role like that, even like in The King Must Dance Naked, I'll probably go and party, go to something totally different from what it was that I've been play, dance, do all kinds of things, and then also get more involved with family. Because when I'm preparing, especially for a very meaty role, I sometimes let go of some of the things that I would normally pay attention to with family, delegate more. And then and I know that I have to get out of this, then I start paying more attention to, I take those responsibilities back. Probably I'm cooking, paying attention to what's happening with the kids and, the house, or decorating, or just moving around furniture, something, just to get that person out of my head. Yes.
Okay. Well, let me take you back to a point we were talking about earlier. This is now in reference to a question from Fumi. You remember we said earlier that scriptwriters needed to think about all the kind of roles, all the roles, etc. We were talking about that. And then you said that, well, the scriptwriter should just go ahead and write, okay? Write whatever it is he or she has in his head and put it down. But then Fumi raises a question that, yes, perhaps to an extent I would agree. I have a great writer who is unable to get the right backing, funding for her couple of fine films. I have read her scripts, hence she sought my intervention to help fund or sponsor the films. So I think the point that Fumi is raising here is that even though sometimes when the scriptwriter does that, the support doesn't come, because things, as you have pointed out, people are looking for the copies of things that have worked in the past. So when somebody comes with something new, something original, it's a bit more difficult, or could be a bit more difficult to get support. So how can that be dealt with from your point of view?
That's always been that's always an issue, not only for scriptwriters, even for producers looking for backing for work that you want to. You see the potential in this work. You know that this is a work that has legs, that has an audience, but trying to convince other people to put down money for it can be very difficult. I really don't have a one cap fits all answer. I do know that one has to survive whilst one is looking for the money to do that particular work that one's heart is attached to. And in doing that work, the danger is that you can then lose focus on focusing on actually knocking on the doors that that you need to knock on to get your opening. And so I will use there's a terminology that Mwabutu uses a lot, which is the fact that I just refuse to take no for an answer. She says it's a mindset. I've seen this thing, I know it can work, and so I'm going to keep knocking and knocking and knocking until I know so this means that I don't go to this person. Just like, is it Edison that discovered created the electric bulb? Okay, yes. 1,000 times of working at, and just each time he failed, he said, well, this is obviously not the way to go about getting what I want. So there will be a lot of no's, but there will, because you have seen it, because you know that it can work. A yes is out there somewhere, and you just have to keep on knocking. That's on one side. Like I said, there's no one cap fits all. The other side too is that we need to have this, and the Lagos state government has set up that funding platform for filmmakers. There are grants are available. There are non-interest loans. You have to pay back, but if there's no interest, okay, so that makes it easier. And then there are grants that are available. You just have to be able to find them to help you get started. Now, there's something interesting that we also need to try exploring, which is trying to find as little money as possible to do what is called a showcase of whatever it is that we want to do. So that people, sometimes the people you're going to, they don't even have the time to read it. Sometimes the way you're pitching it, you're not pitching it in a way that's exciting them. And so if you can just get a group, find some people, some friends, and just do something from that, from the piece of work, and show it, and then show. A picture is worth 1,000 words, and showcase, because that's what a showcase is, something really good from that piece of work, so that people can look at it and say, I'll invest in this, definitely. It has legs. So those are the various options that I can think of. Yeah.
No, very good points, really. Perseverance, like you say, is a key word, because usually there's somebody out there. It's just that, yes, sometimes one needs to be ready to suffer a little bit of hunger in the process of finding the person. That's perseverance. Okay, now, some recent reviews I have seen have spoken about, have been very critical of some films, in which they say, these films have great actors, but the film turned out so poorly. Why have they wasted the talent of these actors in these films? And this is in line with the question that is being asked here by Femi. Femi is asking, can great acting turn a poor script into a great film? That's a tough question, right?
Yes, because like I said, it's a collaborative effort. Yes, I really do. I'm an actor, so of course I believe that great acting can turn a poor script. But I honestly think it's true that good acting can actually have a really good effect, a very positive effect on a poor script. All right. The conviction with which you that you bring to a poorly a poorly realized character, you can fill in some of the areas with performance that the writer did not see. I think a lot of times, because our budgets are still pretty low, even when we're talking about 100 and something million to do a film and things like that. We tend to rush to production. We tend to rush to market when there's a need to look at the script over and over again, workshop the script, get it to that point where, and then there are times when you even start the performance that there are, you start rewriting some scenes. I've worked on projects where you start with a white, the script is white, is all white, but by the time you finish, you have a script that is totally multicolored, simply because scenes have been rewritten and rewritten and rewritten. And as each rewrite is done, it's a different color. It comes as whenever there's a rewrite, it's done in a different color, just so that you know that this has been rewritten from the original. So you end up with a rainbow colored script. So we shouldn't be afraid of the work is never finished. There's a journey. There's an ongoing journey in which you start with a script, but by the time you finish, it's probably a more a better script that has what's the word now, that has, for want of a better word, that has more meat, that is better thought out. The word is rigor. There is more rigor in the, so it's okay, collect all the faces, good. It brings it, I mean, when you collect all the faces, definitely you're going to get the bums on the seat, you know, to whether it be theater, be it film. But make sure that when you get those bums on the seat, people are not disappointed at the end of the day that you have not done enough rigor on the work. Yes.
I think here Doris is echoing a little what you have said, because she points out that the story is king. And well, the actor can change a bad script if he or she rewrites the script, she's saying, and adding that great acting comes from character.
You don't have to rewrite the script. Sometimes the script is uneven, and sometimes the writer doesn't know how to write. So even if the story is a good story, but the writer doesn't know how to write, a good actor can then bring that, the extra that is needed to make that story work. So I disagree. I can't remember the name of the person who did that. Got to type it.
Okay, no, this was Doris. Okay, now let me take the question of Sam. Sam says, it is common in Nollywood for actors to be involved in several films at the same time. In respect to imbibing character traits, is it good practice for actors to take up several acting roles at the same time? And in such situations, how can an actor manage several roles in different films and still remain convincing in the portrayal of the different characters?
My answer to that, from my experience, is an unreserved, unapologetic no. It is not a good practice at all, not by any stretch of the imagination. Why? You can be in prep for another show, in the sense that you have another script that you have to do. But what tends to happen is that if you're working on a lot of projects at the same time, the likelihood of you dropping the ball is high, of not attaining the kind of excellence that you need for a particular character. The likelihood is high. If, as you know, you're working on, I mean, I don't think we can think of what now, Funke Akindele in Omogeto, for instance. She's working on Omogeto, and then you find her working on I think it's Her Excellency. Okay, working on Omogeto and then working on Her Excellency at the same time. One will suffer for the other. One will suffer for the other, because the kind of immersion that is needed for an Omogeto, where she plays a tout, a tout that had a very good upbringing, and then in Her Excellency, she's also someone with a bit on the rough, with the rough edges, but with a very good heart. No. So yeah, for me, it's an unreserved no.
Okay. Thank you.
I know, and I think that brings us to where we need to get our guilds sorted out. The welfare of artists, of practitioners, whether artists, whether producers, whether directors, the welfare package has got to be much better than what we have at the moment, because that's the only reason why people are working on multiple projects at the same time.
Now, when you talk about welfare package, what exists right now for the actor? Because one gets the impression that really it's every man for himself, as it were. What kind of support can an actor expect today?
Right now, it still is on majorly every man for himself. That's the honest truth. Producers are trying, studios are trying to like make sure that, you know, there's everybody on a set gets to, you know, eat well and sleep well. But sometimes the hours of work are not conducive for health. They're working from morning till like early, over 12 hours a day, which I think for me is a no-no. It's not very good for anybody's health, whether it's the director, the producer, or the actor. But guilds are working on trying to sort that out. And a lot of that also comes from budgets. When there are not enough budgets, when the budget is not enough, we cut corners. So people are not paid well. People don't get, a lot of people, and I know that the last time I said this, there was a lot of backlash, but I will repeat it. There are a lot of people who go on set and are not fed. They work on a set and they work for hours and they don't get anything to eat for hours. You know, I've been on a production where I had to stop production when I was told that, you know, because what tends to happen is that they'll give the stars some, you know, they'll make sure that the stars get something to eat. But usually on a film set, they're probably about 3 or 4 stars and that's it. Everybody else of probably about 20 to over 30 people don't get to eat anything. I've had, you know, and I know colleagues of mine who have done the same. They'll just stop work and say, until these people have eaten, we're not working, you know? So the budget has got to be enough to take care of the people who are working. A lot of times, gatekeepers, I would call it again, are more concerned about the bottom line, forgetting that it is human beings that are going to make your bottom line effective, that are going to make make you realize a hefty bottom line. Look after them. Look after them and look after them properly. Now, one of the things that the Actors Guild has brought on stream is a medical insurance. Now, if you're a member of the Actors Guild of Nigeria, and it doesn't matter whether you belong to ANTP, which is the Yoruba sector, or there's another one, you know, as long as you are registered in any guild as an actor, all you have to do is get pay a little bit for registration, and you are covered by that insurance. And then you then pay for various levels of insurance as much as you can afford, you know. So there's a medical insurance has come on stream, and it's not just any health facility that they use. Some of the top health facilities are under that coverage. It's called Medicaid. Yes.
That sounds fantastic. But yeah. What came to my mind now is the challenge of the lack of unity. Because why, for instance, this thing you just said happens, I think, the fact that you have people who are working under such poor conditions, is that hunger drives these people to accept positions like that, because they know that if they don't accept those positions, there will be other people who perhaps are even hungrier who will take them. So that there's always somebody who will accept such conditions. And that brings up the question of how can the guilds drive this to make sure that everybody joins the guild, to be protected by the guild, and then to ensure also that people work with contracts?
You made a very valid point, and we had a discussion about this yesterday at an event that I attended. I think a time has to come where there are various guilds for actors. There's NANTAP, there's ANTP, then there's AMPANOS, I think it's called. Then there's the Actors Guild of Nigeria. Then there's Kannywood. I've forgotten what their Actors Guild is called. Now, what I believe is that none of these guilds should be dissolved. No, don't dissolve any of the guilds, but create a new a new platform where members of the executives of those guilds are now members of that new platform, so that we can all be talking to each other. Because the industry is so it's so fractionalized. There are just too many guilds, and yet you cannot tell any guild to dissolve, because there's something that it is providing for its community. So take some, not all, just some of the, I mean, maybe somebody has to be voted from each guild to then be part of that main new platform, and we can then start looking at things like, because we are discussing it in the Actors Guild of Nigeria. I know NANTAP is discussing it, you know. So let's harmonize. Let's harmonize all these things that we're discussing about contracts, about conditions of work, about the kind of the base salary for anybody, and then how do we categorize actors, things like that. Let's all be discussing with each other. Right. That's what I think. That's that's my suggestion.
Yes. Now, you've already responded to some of it, but Fumi is also concerned about, well, like she says, taking Nollywood to the next level. So she wants to know, how do we do this? Where does it sit on the world stage as an institution to be reckoned with? And our producers, and actors are widely sought because of the product they're associated with. Is it time Nollywood gets to be run as an institution, so to say, not a Nigerian institution, but an institution? She's frustrated, she says, at the level of production, and wonders if we can lessen the slapstick aspect of our films and help bring the viewing public's appetite for, or develop the viewing public's appetite for great films. It's quite a long question.
Yes, I hear you, and I think it's a really good question. Nollywood has come, and when I say Nollywood, please don't think I'm not talking about some 20-year-old, 30-year-old industry. That means that, I'm definitely older than that industry. I've been practicing. This makes my 40th year in the industry, and people like Sunday Kilani have been in it for 60 years. People like my husband, around that time frame as well. So when I talk Nollywood, when I talk, the performing arts, the film industry. I mean, I talk about Nollywood as the motion picture industry, and then there's television, and then there's theater. Now, her question is mainly focused on film. Now, Nollywood has done something that Sembene Usman said, which was, it has made it possible for Africa to tell its own stories. That's number one. Number two, it was Peace Ayamosigwe who said that what Nollywood has been able to do, the AU is just beginning to do, which was bring Africa together, and not just Africa on the African continent, but Africa in the diaspora, bring it together. Nollywood has achieved that. But in Nollywood achieving that, it has opened up a lot of competition for Nollywood. And if Nollywood is not careful, Nollywood will lose its preeminence in the film industry. Why? She very rightly said that, we seem to be, it's something I mentioned earlier, which was the fact that once this is what has succeeded at the cinemas, everybody just follows in that direction, refusing to realize that your audience is like a tangerine. There's various slices. There are various, just like life. People are interested in various things. Yes, there is a market for the slapstick, but there's a market for comedy that is not slapstick. slapstick. Then there is a market for the thriller. There is a market for the political thriller. There's a market for the family film. There's a market for so many things. How do we then get Nollywood? Without training, we can't achieve it. I'm sorry. The days of learning on the job from people who are learning on the job, those days are over. The competition does not allow that anymore. And the band-aid kind of training to those days are over. We have to get involved in proper training for this industry, for the film industry. Learn the language of film, learn how to tell stories. Film is not radio on film. Film is not theater on film. Film has its own language. The camera is the storyteller in film. It's not, some overwordy, you constantly talking. There is more showing in film than in, so we can tell our stories. And I think that's the fear, that we don't want to lose that thing that makes us Nollywood. But what makes us Nollywood is our stories. But we must learn how to tell those stories in such a way that we are not just this niche film industry. We are part of the global film industry. I hope I've expressed it.
Very clearly, indeed. Very clearly.
Thank you.
Then Uche says, what really makes a film seminal? Is it the casting, directing, or the promotion, or a combination of these elements? Well, I think you've responded to that part. We just said it's a collaborative effort, everything comes together.
Exactly.
But he goes ahead to say, I want to refer you to the 1979 film, Ashanti, which had your husband, Michael Caine, Beverly Johnson, and Omar Sharif. Even King himself was disappointed with the project. Will you also say that Uncle Olu has the same view about the project?
For Ashanti, I mean, I'm trying to remember Ashanti very well now, because the one that I also tend to see quite a lot of is Dogs of War. Honestly, sometimes you work on a film project and you expect it to do something, and then when it's done, it's not how you envisioned it. Because a lot of times, I mean, whether we like it or not, film is the director's, as they say, is the director's medium. So no matter what performance you put in, the editing, the way it's edited, it can tell a totally different story from what you did. Yes. Right. So, but then to make it a film seminar, it's a collaboration of everything, including market. Yes.
Then just a quick question from Emmy, who wants to know if what you were talking about in terms of the way of getting into a role is the same as method acting, the ability of an actor to immerse him or herself in the role. Is that method acting? Emmy wants to know.
All these names for acting styles, I find very limiting. I find them very limiting, and sometimes they can also be cruel. There's a place for your imagination as an actor. An actor's imagination has got to be very broad. And so method acting, a lot of times method acting is saying that, this character walks 10 miles every day to do what they do. And so you two will walk 10 miles every day, or this character walks 10 miles every day without shoes. You two, excuse me, why? walk without shoes for a bit, and then imagine the rest. That's why it's called acting, just act. I remember that there was something about that Laurence Olivier, and in his early years, he was a young actor at the time, Dustin Hoffman. And that's that walking thing that I said. Laurence Olivier was probably in his 70s, and Dustin Hoffman was making this man walk over. And Laurence Olivier goes, "Young man, what on earth are you doing?" And he said, I'm getting into the door. I said, act. Just act. And that's it, really. All these names, yes, people, I mean, the method came from Stanislavski, in which what Stanislavski did was able to break down what it was that the actor did to help the actor be able to do it again. Especially in theater, when you have to repeat the role over and over again, especially when it's a long run, or when you're trying to, sometimes your instinct fails you, you understand the character, you understand the why, what, and everything like that, but you need to connect your emotion to the way you think. So that's what Stanislavski tried to do. And then there was Meisner, and then there were, all of them are just variations of what is known as the method. The important thing is to be able to realize the character that the writer has written. And a lot of it you can do on your own, but you also need the help of other actors that you work with, because instinctively you will know what works and what doesn't work. If there's just one line or one phrase or one scene that just not gelling for one reason or another, the director has helped it, and all of a sudden, you keep thinking about it. Maybe there's something extra that you need. I'll use an example. When I played Omajua in The King Must Dance Naked, directed by Uncle Bayo Oduneye. This was my first time of working with Auntie Taiwa Jailai said, Uncle Albert Egbe. There were quite a few big guns in the theater production. This was in 1992, 93. And then I'm playing Omajua. And Omajua is someone who is a woman pretending to be a man so that she can be king, And so the way she walks is different from the way she would normally walk. And so I understood her. I understood what she was doing. I understood what she was saying, but I could not emote her. And I remember at one point, we're getting nearer to performers, and Uncle Bayo was tearing out his hair. He couldn't understand what was going on. I kept telling you, my husband was the narrator. Olu, talk to this girl. What's going on? What's going on? Oh, she's just giving me lines. She's just giving me lines. What is it? And Uncle Fred Agbe, the writer of the play, he came one day to watch production, and then he gave me a song. He said, "Joke, oh yeah, let's practice this song." He just came up with this song, and we sang it, and it clicked. Once I sang this song, it just somehow or other, it did the trick. It had nothing to do with me wearing a crown and sitting down and wearing the velvet. No, it was just something that there was a connection. There was something about that song that just made it click for me. And Omajua just came. So
fantastic.
Yes.
Okay. Well, I have a bit more of a personal question here from Stephen. Okay. Stephen says, in times like this, when celebrity marriages and homes are failing, how have you and Papa been able to stay afloat and keep your family off the media's prying eyes?
First, answer is the press have been very kind to us. They have respected our privacy. Also, we do not quote the press for everything, for our personal life. When we have work, then we go to the press to help us to amplify it to the audience. All right. There's that. We've been very lucky in our relationship of two friends, two lovers who have helped each other through this journey of life. But I always also say something. It's because we're in the public eye, our profession is in the public eye. So the marriages that are breaking up outside of the celebrity marriages, there are so many. There are so many marriages that are breaking up, whether they are lawyers, whether in other professions, marriages are breaking up. And a lot of marriages are breaking up in this new dispensation because there were a lot of things that our parents took, that they believed that, this was the way to go, suffer in silence. The younger generation are not prepared to take that. No, as far as they're concerned, life is too short. Now, we're either going to sail, in the same direction or we're not. Now, is the impatience good? I don't think so. I think when you're a couple, it's important for you to learn about each other. It's like people coming from two different backgrounds, no matter whether we were living next door to each other. You're still coming from two totally different backgrounds because we were brought up by two totally different people, and so it's a matter of almost, how the waves, coming and go out, and over the years, the stones become smooth. I remember the wedding ring my mother had. It was a multifaceted wedding ring. And she said that when my father took her to choose her wedding ring, that was the one she chose. And my father asked her why. She said, because I know that marriage is not a piece of cake, but I know that these rough edges at some point will smoothen out, and that's also what she passed down to me. That yes, there will be rough patches, and and it's how you get each other out of those rough patches. But at the same time, I honestly can understand, young people who and then now the other thing too. Sorry to take so much time on this one. In a lot of celebrity marriages, all right, one of the things that has been studied, and it's part of the report, is that a lot of times people marry ideas. They're not marrying the person. They are marrying an idea of the person. They've seen this person in a film. They've seen this, or they've worked together. But the person who has come to work on a particular project with you is not the person. Is an aspect, is a slice of that person. The individual in reality is so much more. But you are so taken by this slice of the person, and then you find that maybe when you discover the other slice, all these other parts of this person, I'm not really sure that. But you've hurried up, you've gone and you signed the dotted lines, and then you now discover that, oops, these other sides exist, and they don't sit well with you. They will probably sit well with somebody else, but you as a person, they don't sit well with. So I think that's also part of it. We need to move away and reflect and be sure, and be as sure as is humanly possible, because we can never be sure that this is the one.
think, if you permit me to say that, that echoes what an author said. He says that love is a verb, not a noun, because it's something you have to work at. So it's a
Yes.
verb, not a noun. You have to work at it. It doesn't come
Yes.
given. Okay, let me take a question from Olusoji, who is asking, how has your theater training helped your preparation and interpretation of film and TV roles?
My theater training. Now, that's a very interesting question. Now, the thing with theater is that theater helps you with analyzing characters. That's the beauty of theater. Theater is so, and because theater tends to start from the beginning to the end, it teaches you how to analyze a character, how to analyze a character.
Sorry about that. Somebody was unmuted.
Okay. You know, you analyze your character in the world of the play. Theater is extremely good at doing that, and then you do it over and over again. Now, film is not the same. Film tends to, depending on the location that you have, you probably start with that, because depending on what is the situation around a particular scene, you probably need to, it's probably the last scene you have to shoot first, because if you don't, you are not going to have all the elements. If you don't shoot it then, you're not going to have all the elements you need to realize that film. So as an actor, because you've been theater trained, you then learn how to understand the total arc of your character. And then when you're asked to then pull out this section from that arc, it's a bit easier to do. It's not that strange. I mean, so film can start from the end, get to the middle, and then the first scene you then shoot on your last day. There are times when you are incredible lovers, you're playing incredible lovers, and the climax of your relationship you shoot on your first day. A theater trained person has learned how to analyze the character, break it down and things like that, so that you can pull out those aspects of the character, those scenes. What is important for the theater trained person is to realize that film, because film catches everything, the performer then needs to bring things as far down as, needs to make things as natural as possible. Theater is projected, everything, the arms, the voice. You can't speak for film the way you would speak in theater, but those are the adjustments that then need to make. You can't even walk as fast as you would on stage, in a film, because you just walk out of shot. Yes.
Sure. Thank you. Now, what will perhaps be our penultimate question is one from Bimbo, who's asking, could we pin fees to years of experience? Sorry, could we pin? Sorry, you're muted, it seems. Oh, we can't hear you.
Okay, we both frozen.
Okay. Exactly. Yes. Okay, that's better now. I can hear exactly. Okay. Now I have a penultimate question here. It's from Bimbo, who is asking, could we pin fees to years of activity and experience across board? Will that be a fair determinant?
I mean, because of the number of years that I've done, of course I would say yes. I would say yes, to the number of years, and yes, that's a fair determinant. But honestly, to be fair, then it's not everybody who has put in all those years who is good. Do you understand? Some people have meandered into the industry because they couldn't do anything. They couldn't find anything else to do. And they stayed stuck in some kind of way of performing that really doesn't, they doesn't add anything to the bottom line. But I don't know, I mean, whoever is asking this question, I'll just take you to someone like Bimbo Manuel. I mean, your own name is Bimbo as well, but Bimbo Manuel is one of the most amazing actors that we have in Nigeria. And he can Bimbo as a performer can travel. His work can travel anywhere in the world. He played the newspaper editor in King of Boys, The Return of the King. And that scene in which he talks about whether my country has my country been loyal to me. That was an Oscar-winning performance. It was brilliant. He's been at it for years, but all those years, I really have never known Bimbo give a poor performance. Do you understand? They are years of constantly being good at what he does. Yes, so for someone like a Bimbo, I would say yes. Or even another Bimbo, that's a Bimbo Akintola. Bimbo Akintola is another, I mean, she's an actress that, she is just so seamless. She just disappears into the character and she's so effortless at it, and she's been at it for years. Definitely someone like that, yes, but there are some other people, I will not mention the names, but they've been at it for years. I'm sorry. No, I'm not going to, so it could be, but I'm not sure. We'll find a way of sorting out that criteria.
Okay, well, the one who was asking is somebody also with a lot of experience in the field. This is Bimbo Loyedi. So I know she's all of our greats. So she knows. She knows.
Yes.
Okay. A question here from Victor, who says, in an industry where production and performance are mitigated by several elements, I would like to know, do you consider yourself a line-driven actor or character-driven, and why?
Please, can I have that question again?
Okay. Victor says, in an industry where production and performance are mitigated by several elements, I would like to know, please, do you consider yourself a line-driven actor or character-driven, and why?
I think I'm both. I'm both kind of actors, if I understand your question correctly. I know that I'm a sucker for well-written scripts. There's a script that I did recently called Ada the Country, written by Titilope Shonuga. That's the depth of writing and the understanding of the language and the nuances in the language. I just can't. I mean, it's the kind of script that I say to myself, Lord, I am so grateful that that you brought this, you brought this to my path, crossed my path. I am so grateful, to be able to work with that kind of script. Now, sometimes there are scripts that don't seem to be that well crafted, but the character is amazing. The character, the person, the individual that has been drawn is just so incredible that you want to be part of it. You want to be, you want to be involved in that kind of, you want to bring that kind of character to life, and you're excited about bringing all the various elements, of that character to life. So it depends. I can be, the line actor or the character actor, but most of the times the way I'm used to the question about the character as actor is that is one a character actor, or is one there's the other kind of actor fills me now. Personality. Are you a personality actor? And then again, I'm very lucky to be both. I can be both a personality and a character. Personality is that, it's just your personality that you play at a heightened point, but character is that you can disappear and contort your body, contort your voice, depending on what is necessary for the character. But there are some people who have made an incredible career and have done very well and are incredibly good as personality actors. And there are some who are just personality and some who are just character. So I've just kind of to cover all areas of the question. Yeah.
Thank you so much. Now our time is up, but I don't want us to go without taking one last question, if you will permit me. Now, yes. You are known to be a passionate defender of the place of women in the media and the arts. And looking at your Instagram account, for instance, I have seen that there appears to be a deliberate effort to actually support the various actresses in the field, because I see the messages you put up, the congratulations for the birthdays and so on. So it's like you have carved out for yourself that role of, permit the expression, a mother figure in the industry. How do you see the development of women in the film industry over these years and their contribution to the growth of the industry?
It's been very exciting for me to see a lot of women, a lot of young women come into the industry and take the industry seriously. There's some, there was a time in the early years of Nollywood, in the early years of the explosion of Nollywood. So that was in the last 30 years. They were just coming in to get the fame. They just wanted to be famous. And as soon as they were famous, that's it, they were gone. They were going to do other things. They just used the industry. Now it's exciting to see young women who come, they own their own production, they're producing their own work, they are fighting for their own space within the industry and showing that they have the cajoons to do so. I find that very, very exciting. These are women who are actors, they're producers, they're directors. Hey, that's exciting and worth celebrating and worth encouraging. However, there's a dangerous thing that our industry tries to do, and that's pit actors or directors or producers against each other. And I think it's just ridiculous in an industry that we're trying to grow and we're trying to build. Of what use? There was something that came on recently that, Joke Silva can play King of Boys better than Shola Shoboale. That's the most idiotic statement I've ever heard. We're two totally different actors and we would approach the world totally differently. Now, why do you want to, thank God, myself, we don't belong to the younger generation who would have now, there'll be different camps and everybody, and it creates some kind of ill feel. We've known each other for years. We've grown together. So, it was just you just ignore such stupid statements. What is important is that when good work is being done, we encourage it. I have so many children, so many daughters within the industry who are, my word, you're just grateful to God that you're around to see it. and you're around not only to see it, and you are around to be part of it. It's exciting. It's exciting. I love it. I love it.
Thank you so very much. Thank you so very much. I think, well, looking at the various comments as well, we have all truly enjoyed this.
Thank you.
Well, let me wish you, in the name of everybody, and to echo much of what has been said in the chat box, a very happy birthday.
Thank
well, lovely celebrations. It's been great having you on the show. It's been great, or it is great having you in the industry. There's a comment here from there's a comment from Fumi who's asking, when are you going to play a villain or person of mystery in the blockbuster? So I think there's still a lot of space for you to do so much.
Yes, exactly. There's room to play so many.
Exactly.
I look forward to them. I've done a lot of villains. I've played a lot of villains on stage. I'm looking forward to playing more villains on screen.
Right.
Thank you.
We're looking forward to it as well. Now, apologies to those whose questions I have not been able to take, but we are out of time here, so we must stop. Now, like I said, I will share with you the comments. There are so many nice wishes here, birthday wishes, which we will share to you. And so thank you once again. And thank you everyone for being with us today. Thank you for your questions. Thank you for your supporting comments and so on and so forth. And we look forward to the next show that we have. And I hope you will all be there as well. And the celebration of the 60th continues. So thank you once again, and do have a great day. I think we will hold you to our piece of the cake.
Okay, definitely. Thank you so much.
Okay. Thank you. All the best.